In the last half hour, last surviving suspect in Paris attack stands trial in Brussels. In the last hour, Salah Abdeslam trial. I'm not scared, says Paris attack suspect in court. Defiant Paris attack suspect trusts in Allah. In the last 2 hours, Paris attack suspect refuses questions at shootout trial. Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam goes on trial over Brussels shootout. Judge me. Paris terror suspect refuses to answer Belgian court. In the last 4 hours, Paris terror suspect, I am not afraid of you, suspect in 2015 Paris terrorist attacks on trial in Belgium. Paris attacks suspect appears in court on separate terrorism charges. Salah Abdeslam, sole Paris attack suspect defiant in court. The silent survivor of Paris attack. I'm not afraid of you. Paris attacks suspect refuses to stand at trial. Surviving suspect in 2015 Paris attacks refuses to answer Belgian court. Suspect in 2015 Paris attacks refuses to cooperate in court. Reports say Paris terror suspect on trial in Brussels. Paris terror suspect complains about Muslim bias. Paris attacks suspect refuses to answer questions at trial. Accused Paris bomber declares his contempt for Belgian court. In the last 6 hours, only living suspect from Paris attack stands trial in Belgium. Video. Paris attack suspect faces Belgian trial over Brussels shootout. Trial of Paris attack suspect opens in Belgium. Paris attack suspect tells Belgian court it is biased against Muslims. In the last 8 hours, Paris terror attack suspect spurns court, saying, do as you want with me. Paris terror suspect arrives at court. Video. Paris attacks suspect in Brussels for trial over police shootout. Paris attacks suspect refuses to stand at shootout trial. Paris attacks suspect refuses to stand at trial. Paris terror attack suspect to face trial in Brussels. Paris attacks suspect Abdeslam refuses to answer questions at trial. Paris attack suspect refuses to answer questions in court. Judge me. Paris suspect refuses to answer Belgian court. Muslims presumed guilty, says 2015 Paris attack suspect. Judge me. Paris suspect refuses to answer Belgian court. Muslims presumed guilty, says Paris attack suspect. Paris attack suspect, my silence is my defense, sole surviving suspect in 2015 Paris attacks goes on trial. Only surviving Paris attack suspect faces justice. Trial opens against top Paris attack suspect earlier today. Sole surviving Paris attack suspect to go on trial. Belgium sole surviving suspect in Paris attack stands trial in Belgium. Lone surviving Paris terror attack suspect goes on trial in Brussels. Paris terror attack suspect goes to trial in Belgium. Paris attack suspect goes on trial in Brussels. Paris 2015 attacker to go on trial. Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam refuses to cooperate during trial. Paris terrorist who killed 130 refuses to speak in court. Paris attack suspect goes on trial in Belgium. Paris attack suspect refuses to answer questions at Belgian trial. Last Paris attack suspect goes on trial in Belgium. Paris attack suspect silent as trial begins. Media. Paris nightclub terror suspect in Brussels court. Paris attack suspect silent as trial begins. Media. Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam goes on trial in Belgium. Live. Paris terror suspect in court as trial begins. Paris attack suspect in Brussels for trial. 2015 Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam stands trial in Brussels. Paris attack suspect to go on trial in Belgium. Paris attack suspect arrives for Belgian trial. Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam goes on trial in Brussels. Paris attack suspect on trial in Brussels. Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam goes on trial in Belgium. Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam to stand trial in Brussels. Suspect for Paris terror attacks that killed 130 goes on trial. Last hours on the run of Paris attack suspect. Paris attack suspect tried in Belgium over shootout. Paris attack suspect on trial over shootout. Paris attack suspect in Belgium trial. 5 things about Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam. Yesterday Paris attack suspect to face trial in Brussels. Today Parisian eyes on Brussels.